Hey everyone, I decided to make this video to help people know what to look for in a controller, and also how to tell when something is or isn't your fault. So without further ado, let's get started. There are three things I look for in a controller in order of priority: good dashback, no horizontal or vertical snapback, and ability to shield drop. The reason shield dropping isn't a big deal is that it can be modded on nearly every, if not every, controller, although it can be quite difficult to mod, and trusting someone untrustworthy with your beautiful controller can get your faceplate demolished. A controller with good dashback has something called PODE, which I'll get back to later in the video. To test dashback, just input a dash with a swift motion directly in the opposite direction from a standstill, aka the wait state. Be sure to keep your thumb resting on the stick the entire time. In practical gameplay, you likely won't rest your thumb on the stick often, so a missed dashback will result in either a tilt-turn dashback or a simple turnaround with no dash whatsoever. I recommend testing this about 20 times, and to test this with Marth, Peach, or Falcon, since they all have 7-frame tilt-turn animations. If you see yourself suffering from a laggy animation or tilt-turn often, your controller is like most controllers and has bad dashback. If it's still hard to see, you can up the ante by switching to a 9-frame tilt-turn character like Bowser or DK. You can also enable the tilt-turn color overlay in the latest version of the 20XX hack pack, like I did. To test snapback, I like to go to the stage striking screen. Then I repeatedly flick the stick in one of the 4 main directions. So right now, I'm repeatedly flicking left. If it flicks back, you have snapback, which is something you don't want. I do this about 20 times, then I repeat this in the other 3 directions. A minor note is when testing vertically, the cursor will always move because it loops around to the other side. It should also be noted that Typo has reported that a certain amount of vertical snapback will have no in-game effect. If you have vertical snapback, the only way to test if it's actually an issue is to test if you accidentally double jump when inputting a fastfall, which can be finicky. Because of this, when he performs a capacitor mod vertically, he only eliminates the desired amount, not completely. He mentioned he's not sure whether it will need to be completely eliminated for other Smash games, though. There are 2 aspects of controller-based shield dropping that should be tested. Shield dropping by moving from full left on the controller gate to the bottom left notch and vice versa, also called the axe method, and buffering the shield drop out of lag. For the first test, hold directly left on your controller, then pause the game. After that, move the control stick directly to the bottom left notch and unpause the game. You should get one of 3 things: a spot dodge, still holding shield, or a shield drop. Obviously, a shield drop is what you want. The more consistent the controller at this test, the better. Shield drops can be slightly finicky because there are 2 values that are shield drop values, but are dangerously close to not being shield drop values. 0.6625 is very close to being a holding shield value, and 0.6875 is very close to being a spot dodge value. If your notch is at one of those 2 values, or the perfect shield drop value, 0.675, you'll find this test to succeed consistently. Be sure to test this for the other side as well. To test the buffer shield drop method requires a bit of technique. I recommend testing this with Chic, as I find this to be easiest with her. Perform an L-cancelled fair or bear on a platform while continuing to hold the trigger after L-cancelling. During the last few frames of L-cancelled lag, move the stick to the notch. If timed correctly, with perfect notches, you'll find that you're consistently experiencing 1 frame of shield, then an immediate shield drop. If you're too late in your technique, you'll find that you're just performing a fancy version of the first shield drop method, which isn't what you want. If you're either stuck in shield sometimes or spot dodging and not shield dropping consistently, your notch values are slightly off. A good way to ensure that your technique is correct is to enable UCF, which is found in the latest version of 20XXTE. Be sure you turn it off when testing the controllers though, or you'll get false positives. Good dashback is a result of something called the potentiometer oddity degradation effect, or PODE for short. It only occurs on controllers that have been heavily used, meaning controllers fresh out the box will never have PODE, aka it'll always have bad dashback. Currently, good dashback is not moddable on a controller, except through the infamous Arduino mod, which is currently illegal. Dashback is also non-transferable because the second you remove the stick box from the potentiometers, which are the 2 black things that hold the stick box, it will return back to the way it was when it was first purchased, with no PODE. Godano has confirmed that snapback will return as well. It's also good to note that controllers with no horizontal PODE can empty pivot extremely easily, with a simple flick in the opposite direction mid-dash causing a pivot. I don't think it is currently known whether this is 100% consistent or based on skill, or if there is a luck factor involved. Typo has explained that if there is a luck factor, it is probably no greater than 5%. PODE controllers also always seem to be fairly loose and more difficult to handle, likely because of the heavy usage required to cause it to develop PODE. So basically, controllers are a trade-off between the ability to empty pivot as well as easier handleability and dashback ability, and most people prefer the latter. As for dashing backwards out of crouch, it has been noted that some controllers are easier to perform this tech on, but it's uncertain whether or not it's impossible to be 100% consistent on all controllers. Typo has reported that a GameCube controller with good dashback is expected to have issues with 1 to 2 of the following: empty pivots, ledge dashing, specifically letting go of the ledge, and dashing back out of crouch. Drugfox has mentioned that he can perform the tech fairly consistently on his non-PODE controller, and that when he messes up, it feels like his own fault. Hax has reported on his website, though, that it is highly luck dependent, and he provides a lot of data for these claims, so I'm inclined to believe it. This is why the Hax mod includes a much easier dash out of crouch, whereas UCF doesn't touch it whatsoever. Link in the description to Hax's website. Luckily, controllers with good dashback basically never have horizontal snapback, and they likely won't have vertical snapback as well since it's been used so much. If it does, a simple capacitor mod will eliminate vertical snapback. The only downside to this mod is that you must hold Y, X, and start for 3 seconds upon every time you plug it in. Link in the description to Cardano's capacitor mod. If you have a brand new controller, it will definitely have both horizontal and vertical snapback. If you install 2 capacitors, one for each axis, you can eliminate all relevant snapback. I say relevant because Typo has mentioned that you don't need to eliminate all vertical snapback. You just need to eliminate enough so that it'll never cause an accidental double jump when attempting to fastball. So even if on the stage striking screen you find that you have vertical snapback, keep in mind that it may not affect in-game gameplay, and you shouldn't be worried if you aren't experiencing accidental double jumps. Because of the trade-offs a PODE controller brings, a non-PODE controller, aka not heavily used, with 2 capacitors is the ideal controller, and anything other than that is likely inferior in some aspect. I'd like to conclude this video by saying I hope UCF is legalized because the controller lottery is extremely aggravating, and even the most perfect of current legal controllers cannot reach 100% dashback rate due to the pulling rate of Melee. Thank you for watching. It'd mean the world to me if you'd subscribe, since I plan on making more videos in the future. Bye for now.